Gang, you give life a new meaning when you dream, and it's your boy, Dream Gang. So now we were just in South Africa, so now we in the UK, feel me? So, hold on, let me try this. We got Brixton versus Peckham, most infamous beef in London. I think I did okay. Alright, gang, let me know, put it in the comments, gang. But first, before we start this video, follow me and Cash on Instagram, Life is Saint, Cashman CEO. Hit that like button, drop some more videos and songs in the comments, and hit that subscribe button, gang. Let's get it.
For the publicised drill feuds in South London, like Moscow versus Zone 2 and Harlem versus 410, there was a very deadly war going on between Peckham and Brixton, which was one of the first nationally publicised beefs in London, gaining a lot of news coverage, and came about in the early stages of YouTube, where we could see direct disses, kind of originating diss tracks how we know it today. So as I said before, the two areas in this feud was Brixton versus Peckham. So first we have Peckham, which is located in the borough of Southwark in South London, which infamously is the area where drill group Zone 2 are from. But before Zone 2, there was the Peckham Boys, which was a gang made up of 5 estates in Peckham, which were the North Peckham Estate, Gloucester Grove Estate, Willowbrook Estate, Camden Estate, and the Sumner Estate. And these estates were very well known for how bad they were. They suffered massive unemployment and crime, and were very deprived. They pretty much were neglected by any law enforcement and government as well, and was even called Peckham, which is a hybrid between Vietnam and Peckham, comparing the area to the Vietnam War due to how much violence was there. Throughout the Peckham Boys gang,
To the Vietnam War is crazy. That's crazy. That's wild shit out there, gang.
Different sets, like the Firehouse Crew and YBP, or Younger Peckham Boys. There were also a couple of Jamaican yardie gangs in Peckham, like the Sunrise Crew and the Spanglers as well. And on the other side of the feud, we have Brixton, which is about an 11-minute ride from Peckham, and is located in the borough of Lambeth. Brixton's main gang in this feud was called the Gas Gang, who was a gang from the Angel Town estate. And these guys were the most violent gang in the Brixton area, and were even responsible for 3/4 of violent incidents in Brixton in 2012. The Angel Town estate, where Gas Gang is from, probably has the richest history of gangs in London, with many different generational gangs being bred from this estate, like the PDC gang in the 2000s who dominated the estate. Nowadays it's the Get Back gang or 150 who take on the estate. But let's take it back a minute to 2008, where Peckham, who I first mentioned, was deep in a decades long with a gang called the Ghetto Boys, who was a gang from Lewisham in South London, which was a crazy war in itself, and I'll definitely do a video of that in the future. But in 2008, after decades of back and forth between the Peckham and Lewisham gangs, the younger generations in both gangs agreed to an alliance, which was fully solidified during the Notting Hill Carnival in August 2008, when 180 members from both gangs organised a link-up at the carnival. The link-up was actually intercepted by police, because the police thought the two gangs were linking up to fight each other. But as Peckham's relationship with Lewisham got better, their relationship with Brixton started to worsen. See, historically, Brixton and Peckham have always had a feud, even dating all the way back to the 1950s, where local schoolboys from both areas would clash, which was even more hostile after immigration, because Peckham was filled with mainly African immigrants, while Brixton was filled with mainly Caribbean immigrants. So there's always been big culture clashes there. But as I said, in 2008, the war between Brixton and Peckham was starting to become a lot more heated, and these were
Running a business can be overwhelming. When I started my business, I wasn't just wearing every hat, I was literally making.
I ain't know Africa. I ain't know Africa used to come over there. Feel me? The African immigrants. Feel me? That's why y'all kind of talk alike a little bit. Feel me? Just a little bit.
Times where guns were much more accessible than what they are now. It wasn't uncommon for a gang member to be rolling around with a gun, just like how nowadays most gang members roll around with knives. So there was a lot of back and forth shooting between these areas. In one instance, members from a Brixton gang called OC, who were heavily allied with Gas Gang, rid out on Woolworth Road, which at the time was a territory of the Shoot Instant gang, who were part of the Peckham side, and started shooting at 2 Peckham rappers called Snap Capone and Butch, who were walking down the street. Both rappers actually managed to run to a convenience store and managed to dodge the bullet. While running into the shot, an innocent bystander just trying to get into the same shot was shot and killed. His name was Ryan Bravo, and he was 18 at the time. And this was one of the big turning points in making this feud widely publicised in the UK. Just to rub salt in the wounds, the OC gang made a diss track called Bullet Ridden, when a member mocked the situation with the lyrics, "Had you running in the shop like you're buying something," while a member of a Peckham gang then responded to the situation in a song called Real Riders, saying, obviously referencing
when I pull up to your block, little dickhead. But nah, that's crazy though. How you make the diss song but you hit the innocent bystander though? You ain't even hit the target. Like, you should have never really made the diss song though, honestly.
the members shot up Woolwich Road, which are some of the early examples of UK diss songs, referencing real moments that have happened on the streets, bringing more publicity to the feud. And the people who are up to date with London's street situation at the moment will probably be quite confused, because Woolwich Road actually beats Peckham now, but that's a whole nother story to get into another time. So yeah, after this Woolwich Road shooting, many diss tracks were going back and forth between the gangs, as well as shots. In the same year of 2008 in October, Brixton older members got the drop on a Peckham member's house called Terms, and waited in the parked car outside his house. When Terms appeared outside his house, they shot him on his doorstep, leaving him to die. Terms was a member of the SN1 gang in Peckham, which stands for Spare No One, and this is the same gang that the famous rapper Giggs was part of, and Giggs pays respect to Terms sometimes in his songs. It didn't take more than a month for Peckham to respond to this though. In November, Peckham members got the drop that some members from the Brixton gang OC were clubbing at a nightclub called SE1 in Bermondsey, South London, and pulled up to the club, shooting Errol Davis close range in front of 2,500 clubbers, which is even crazier because the murderer was never caught, despite there being thousands of witnesses at the scene.
I love the fact that y'all are not telling though, but damn, in front of 2,000 people and you did not get caught? Like, what the fuck? That nigga fearless though.
But these times, stuff like this wasn't uncommon, because there was low-level security and no cameras in some of the clubs in 2008, which is something you will never see in clubs in London nowadays. Quite recently actually, in 2016, the police found the same handgun which murdered Errol Davis at the nightclub in the possession of a man called Andre Chambers, who lived in Woolwich, which is quite sus. It was also later found out that the same weapon which was involved in Errol Davis' murder was also involved in 2 other attempted murders and 1 murder. But Andre Chambers was never found guilty for the murders with little to no evidence, apart from handling the weapon, but that's not enough to go down for a murder. While this direct war between Brixton and Peckham was occurring, there were also a lot of separate gangs and areas who joined alliances with both areas. This was basically turned into some World War III stuff, the South London version. One set based in Old Kent Road, called OBY, in South London were affiliated with Peckham, but a dispute between the members started a feud between OBY and Peckham, resulting in OBY members joining Brixton in the fight against Peckham, which was fully signified in the trap between the two gangs called Brooklyn to Baghdad. But OBY went off to a bad start in this feud, after losing one of their younger members called Baby Ryder. His real name was Sunday Essie, and he was a 15-year-old orphan from Nigeria, after his mum and dad both died when he was younger, and he started to get involved in the South London feud. Before he was stabbed, he pulled out an imitation firearm on 4 rival members. When they realised it was fake, they chased him through a park, while he was screaming for his life, begging his killers not to kill him and spare his life. But he was ultimately stabbed 9 times and left to die. So after the back and forth in 2008, Brixton and
Like, why would you go to your block with a fake gun, bro, and taunt the ops, bro? Now they chased and ran you down, stabbed you 9 times. You tried to beg for your life, but what if that was a real gun though? Then they would have been dead. So they not even taking no chances with you, bro. Why would you take a chance with your life like that? Like, do you think he took his life serious at that point, or he was just like this is a game? Cause I'm like, that's weird. Why would you do that? Like a fake gun?
was literally a no-go zone. And me personally, growing up as a kid around these times, despite me not actually living in the area and being too young to understand all this stuff, I just knew Brixton and Peckham was a place you do not go. Even the Member of Parliament of Peckham at the time, Harriet Harman, would wear a bulletproof vest and have security while she would walk through Peckham, further embracing the name Peckham. Then 2009 hit, and this was a big year for music from both sides, but especially from the Peckham side of things, when Giggs dropped a couple mixtapes and started putting some of his other members onto music, like Gunna D and Killer Kai. But Giggs was under a lot of pressure from the police at the time, who would cancel his shows, warn labels not to work with him, and even banned him from appearing in TV and radio, which is something we see a lot now with police taking down these drill music videos. Well, the reason why police was so onto Giggs is because the streets were crazy at these times, and Giggs' Peckham gang SN1 were making headlines early on in 2009 when they executed the ex-member in broad daylight on a busy street because he fell out.
God damn, hold on.
The gang earlier on. This was a ticking point.
Damn, they killed that nigga in broad daylight just because he fell out with the gang. SN1, that was the same club that bro ran and shot 2,000 people in, right? I mean, not 2,000 people. That he shot that nigga in front of 2,000 people, right? SN1.
for police because it was seeming to the public at this time that the gangs had took control and could do whatever they want, which was essentially true. So police started gathering CCTV footage of previous rideouts from both Peckham and Brixton gangs in an attempt to take down some members. Police sent over this footage to Peckham members' lawyers as proof of their involvement in the feud, which a member then grabbed the footage of his lawyer and uploaded it to YouTube. The original video is no longer up, but a re-upload of it is still on YouTube today, and so is Peckham members riding out in Brixton in masses. And when looking at this footage, this is some propaganda worthy stuff. Like, the captions in the videos are so funny, and all the footages just show how crazy these times really were. Like, gangs were just riding their ops with 30 guys on pedal bikes, loaded with guns and knives. There's no way you could get away with that stuff nowadays in London. 3 boys can't even walk to the shop in London without getting stopped by police, let alone that many people on bikes. Brixton gangs responded to this YouTube video in the
Bro, they are purging, no kizzy, like 30 people on pedal bikes with knives and guns, bros. They is purging, gang.
video called Your Liars, and the whole year of 2009 was literally just filled with violence and diss tracks, with some real classics like Wreckagee from Peckham younger members. Around the same time of this release, a 13-year-old boy was stabbed 5 times in South London due to the feud between these areas, which hit national attention because 13 is hella young, and I think this rang into a lot of people's mind that this issue was very bad, because kids as young and even younger than 13 were now known to be involved in this. And on top of all this Brixton and Peckham beef, Peckham were having their own issues inside the area, and the civil war started to ignite in the Peckham area, which was fully all out after a member of the MLB gang, or Mandem on Brandon, was shot dead by Peckham owners. MLB is a gang from the Brandon estate in South London, which is the same estate drill group Moscow 17 is based in. Peckham rapper Snap Capone was linked to the murder, but managed to beat the case, but a member was sent to prison for hiding a gun used in the murder. This created a lot of politics between Peckham and the Peckham affiliated gangs, and eventually after many disputes, members of an estate called Lexham Estate split away from the Peckham sets and started beefing Peckham, which just started turning Peckham very messy. At the same time, different Peckham sets started turning on each other, and because Peckham is such a big area and had so many different estates, the gangs just started keeping inside their estate. One of these being the Pelican estate, which started beefing other Peckham gangs after the disagreement, which in December of 2010 resulted in 2 members being stabbed and 1 being shot to death. The member who died was called Vesta, and police were investigating the situation heavily at the time. So while this investigation was taking place, a younger member of a rival Peckham gang started to go onto the Pelican estate and post leaflets through the doors, which said, and I quote, "Stop snitching or we'll come for you," which must have been hella threatening for the normal residents who just live on the estate and had nothing to do with the gang.
Hell yeah, they're like, yo, get that nigga out of here, bro. Like, don't be putting up notes like that in my crib. Like, damn, now my girl don't want to come over here because she like, damn, bro, like, who tired of telling? Like, they have, like, what's going on in here? Feel me? Nigga got the neighbors scared.
Situation. 2 members, Tiny Nutty and Jungle, were convicted and sent to a minimum of 30 years for the murder, just before Tiny Nutty got booked for the murder of Esther. His older, who was called Nutty, was on remand in prison for a firearm charge. Around these times especially, it would be common for older members to have youngers, which would then take on their name essentially, just like how Tiny Nutty took on Nutty's name. A 17-year-old from Peckham was also on the same charge as Nutty for the firearm, but just like how gang hierarchy works, other members were pressuring the 17-year-old to plead guilty to the firearm charge, which would then allow Nutty to be freed. The 17-year-old refused though, which resulted in other members executing the 17-year-old by luring him into a car and shooting him in the back of his head, and then burning the vehicle on the day of the court hearing. Nutty was accused of arranging the murder because of the conflicting stories they...
Not because boy didn't want to, he didn't want to say anything to get bro out of jail. And wait, what's bro name? Hold on.
For towing court. And he looked even more guilty after officers found the lyrics in his cell saying, "Kill your co-defendant if you're snitching in court." Like, I don't think you could get any more bait than writing those lyrics. It's not even like it's a catchy line or anything. I think he was just screaming, "Please lock me up." And that's exactly what they done after finding him guilty of the gun charges and arranging the murder, which he is now serving 32 years for. Also, the Peckham rapper, who is known by a street name CS, was actually caught and convicted for setting the car on fire after the 17-year-old was shot and killed, which he served 4 years for. So as you could tell, Peckham was just a mad area.
I think his name was Lil Naughty, right? Alright, so we got Big Naughty, Lil Naughty, right? So Lil Naughty looking up to Big Naughty, like, yo, feel me? I need guidance and stuff like that, feel me? That's what the OGs is supposed to be for. Like, if you want to call somebody a youngin' and he looking up to you, like, guide him and make him go in the right direction, feel me? Don't let him keep... That's what he's looking at. If he's looking at niggas killed, then he just gonna keep killing, feel me? But if you're an OG, feel me, lead the youngins in the right direction, feel me? Like, let's try to change the world up a little bit, gang. And then, hold on, let's go back though, feel me? Niggas said that he didn't want to tell to get Big Naughty out of jail. So they lured the bro up in the car, shot him in the back of the head. And then other bro that got 4 years, what was his name? C.I. That nigga burned the car up. No evidence. Body gone. Everything gone, gang. Let's get it though.
At these times, the civil war they were having was probably more active than their beef with Brixton ever was. One death that really shocked the area was the death of a respected member called Taz. He died during the chase when he crashed his motorbike. Family members put up a shrine of Taz where the accident occurred, where the ops then camped outside the same day of his death. And when a member called Little Groove visited the shrine, they shot him dead the same day. So Peckham was literally a no-go zone at this point. Like literally everyone was just beefing each other. And while all this madness was happening in Peckham, Brixton were having their own separate issues over in their camp. Gas Gang was starting to get heavily involved in beefs with a lot of surrounding towns, like Brixton Hill and Toast Hill, which are blocks of the famous drill groups 6-7 and 8-6. One murder that really started changing the dynamic of this beef was the murder of Toast Hill member Little Zach. It was 2011 and 5 Gas Gang members rid out in a school located in Toast Hill, waiting for Little Zach to come home from school. The reason the members targeted Little Zach is because he was involved in the stabbing of a Gas Gang member 2 weeks before this incident. When he came out of the school, the Gas Gang members chased Little Zach and stabbed him to death. He was only 15 at the time, and this resulted in a few separate gangs starting to turn on Gas Gang, like ABM, who was a gang located in Stockwell. At this point, literally everyone was beefing everyone. South London was just a very, very dangerous place, and when some murders would be committed, police couldn't even point it towards any specific gangs. Just
look, you see how they got the little bro right there? Like, go inside, my boy. Go do your homework. Like, you don't need to be outside. Go play a sport or some shit. Like you heard, they said Lil Nas, feel me, he was in school, even though he did stab somebody 3 weeks ago. So now, nigga, this is your get back. But bro, he's 15 years old. They ain't say nobody over. The only thing that they said was over 18. The only person that said that was over 18 was the innocent person that got hit at the store. Other than that, everybody under 17. This is some little kid shit, gang. It's like, what are they beefing over? Honestly, I'm waiting for him to tell me what they beefing over. Besides, they get back. Like, what started it?
because it could have been so many different cliques. Like the murder of Azur Khan in 2011. He was attending the funeral of one of his Gas Gang friends when he was shot and killed at the burial. But no one has the faintest idea of who it could have been. It could have been one of the many gangs in Peckham. It could have been members from Toast Hill, Brixton Hill, ABM, or just anyone from the borough of Southwark. There's just too many possibilities. These murders amped up the feuds between gas gangs and other areas aside Peckham, and it was getting to the point where both Brixton and Peckham had more issues on their hands rather than each other. In 2012, 3 gas gang members rid out on Stockwell looking for members of a rival gang called ABM. When they found the op inside the shop, they let off fire inside the shop, which missed the rival, but ended up hitting a 5-year-old, which left her paralysed. This hit nationwide news, and this was really the beginning of the end for Gas Gang, because they started getting more monitored than probably any other gang at the time, which 2 years later resulted in a massive raid taking down some of the key members of the gang. Nowadays, Peckham and Brixton gangs are actually linked up, with both of them having the same ops, but compared to how it was back in 2011 to 2012, both areas have calmed down a lot, with mass surveillance and of course gentrification. If you go to some of the old blocks of Peckham, where murders, robbings and shootings would be a daily occurrence, it's crazy how now them same blocks are filled with white hippies with rich parents. But to be honest, that's like most of London now. Anyway guys, that's it for today's video. I might do a part 2 on this because I know there's some things that I left out. But either way, it's been your boy Kid Nerd, and peace out.
Alright gang,
Before I get
what am I gonna say? Y'all just gotta chill. This is a young sport out there for me. He ain't really say nobody over 18, so this is a young sport. Y'all gotta really chill. Stop the violence. Like, your parents still want you to have a future. There's not much for me to really say. It's like, y'all gotta put me on to some more stuff, because I know out there in the UK, y'all like to stab a lot. So I really, you know, I'm ready to lock into what's out there in the UK. So drop some videos, gang. Put me on to some more stuff. Hit that like button. Follow me and Cash on Instagram. Life is Sane Cashmere CEO. And hit that subscribe button, gang. And you already know the vibes. You give life a new meaning when you dream, and it's your boy Dream.